Hi, this is Gary with deermanage.com. In this video I am going to show you how to estimate your deer population and harvest requirements. This option is only available in the advanced version of the software. I created this formula several years ago when we got tired of guessing how many deer we should be shooting, especially how many does we needed to shoot in order to bring our doe to buck ratio down to around 1.5 to 1. As with any formula, it is only as accurate as the factors that you put into it. Ask yourself if you can come up with reasonable estimates for the following factors on your own property. By doing trail camera surveys, you can probably estimate the first three things that I asked next. 1. Can you estimate your number of resident bucks? 2. Can you estimate your doe to buck ratio? 3. Can you estimate your fawn recruitment rate? 4. Can you estimate your mortality rate for does? And 5. Can you estimate your mortality rate for bucks? If you answered yes to these 5 questions, then this formula will work for you. Not only can you estimate your deer population, but you can also estimate your deer harvest requirements. Let's now go up, click on Population and Harvest Estimate. First thing it wants to know is our number of individual bucks counted. This really should be more, let's enter the number of resident bucks that we have, because maybe I counted 40 different bucks, but from our history we know that probably 10 of those bucks were just visiting from the neighbors and stuff. So in my example I'm going to put that we have 30 resident bucks. Doe to buck ratio. We are very confident of our doe to buck ratio because of the records we keep, including doing a trail camera survey. So I'm going to make it 1.3 to 1. Our fawn recruitment rate, again, because of the records we keep and because we do a trail camera survey, we are very confident of our fawn recruitment rate. Mortality rate, we estimate that we lose approximately 10%, 10% of our does to natural mortality. Natural mortality is disease, getting hit by a car, etc. Mortality rate for bucks, right now we're going to use 20%, which is 0.20. And what's cool now is, let's say if I'm happy with our deer population the way it is today, I can say, well, let's go ahead and keep the same number of resident bucks, which I'm estimating at 30, and we're happy with our doe to buck ratio, so I can go ahead and say let's keep our same doe to buck ratio at 1.3 to 1. Once I've entered that, if I hit the calculate button, what it's doing now is it's calculated basically our estimated deer population. It's estimating our mortalities, and it's telling me what my deer population will be next summer. So we're starting out with 30 bucks, 39 does, and 27 fawns, and those are calculated by using the doe to buck ratio and the fawn recruitment rate. By saying I want to have next summer the same number of resident bucks and the same doe to buck ratio, basically I'm saying next summer, which is after this hunting season, I want to end up with 96 deer again, the same, not the same deer, but still 30 bucks, 39 does, and 27 fawns. So now let's go down to the breakdown that's listed below. So my beginning population of the 96 deer, and I'm including fawns in here, is 53 does and 43 bucks. Our estimated mortality, which is based on our 10% for does and 20% for bucks, we're estimating we're going to lose 5 does to a natural mortality and 9 bucks to natural mortality, for a total of 14 deer. So as a result of that, we need to harvest approximately 9 does and 4 bucks for a total of 13 deer. That means after we do that, we end up at the end of hunting season with 39 does, 30 bucks, for a total of 69 deer. Now, because of our recruitment rate that we have of 0.70, next year we're going to be adding 27 more deer. Approximately, half and half would be 14 does and 13 bucks, because that's 27 times their percentage. Next summer population, 53 does, 43 bucks, our same 96 deer we're starting with. So this is really a good tool to be able to bring up and see kind of the numbers that you're going to have to harvest and stuff. And the more you do this, you get better at it. So by keeping the records, keeping track of your harvest, you get a much better feel for your resident bucks, you get a much better feel for your mortality rates. So this really works out well. But this was a scenario where I said I'm happy with the deer population that we have today, along with the doe to buck ratio. Now down below, we've had a couple of people ask us, that really when we calculate our doe to buck ratios and our trail camera surveys and stuff, we exclude fawns. We count fawns just as fawns. We don't try to identify them as doe fawns or buck fawns. But we've had some people ask to say, could we show the doe to buck ratio including fawns? So we'll take the fawns and assume that half of them are buck fawns and half of them are doe fawns. So even though I'm working with a 1.3 to 1 doe to buck ratio excluding fawns, once you add the fawns in, because you have an equal number of buck fawns and doe fawns, it's looking to be like 1.23 to 1. Same thing when you have your next summer population at the end. They wanted me to go ahead and show that as well, to show the doe to buck ratio including fawns. At the bottom, I just threw this in here at the bottom because I constantly hear people talk about how they have a lot of younger deer, and that's just a natural thing. So basically what it's saying here is of our 96 deer that we start with here before hunting season, since 27 of them are fawns, that's approximately 28% of the 96 deer are fawns. And then looking ahead to the next year, if we don't shoot fawns, and most people try to avoid shooting fawns, next summer we're looking at 28% of the 96 deer will be fawns, and 24% of the yearlings are going to, 24% of the deer will be yearlings. That's 52% of the entire deer population are either fawns or 1.5. It's just a normal thing, but I never realized, that the percentages were so high. So now here's the cool thing about this. Let's say, for example, that we're not happy with our deer population. We're not at our carrying capacity. So what we could do is go in there and say, okay, instead of 30 bucks, let's increase our population to 32 bucks. And let's bring it up to, let's say, 1.5 to 1 doe to buck ratio, and let's click on calculate. So now what it's saying is, yeah, we're starting out with 96 deer, but I'm saying next summer, instead of 30 resident bucks, I want 32 resident bucks. Instead of 1.3 to 1 doe to buck ratio, 1.3 to 1 doe to buck ratio, I want a 1.5 to 1 doe to buck ratio. By doing that, we can bring our deer population from 96 up to 114. And it gives you a little message out here that you basically are increasing your population by about 19%. But now you can see what really happens down here on the harvest. Now, in order for us to do that, it's saying we shouldn't harvest any does, and we should harvest maybe 2 bucks. But that's what it would take then to increase our deer population. But this is the kind of information that's becoming more and more important for everybody. I wish you'd please read my articles on our website. There's 2 of them regarding fawn recruitment rate and how important that is in determining your harvest. And I've also got one about doe to buck ratio, how and why you want to manipulate your doe to buck ratio. And I use this formula extensively to explain what's going on. So even though we like to keep a tight doe to buck ratio, some properties, and maybe even us someday, will be forced to have a higher doe to buck ratio just to maintain the deer population where we want it, because mortality rates are going up because of coyotes, etc. High fenced properties have a big advantage over us unfenced properties in that they don't have deer coming and going from their property. With a good trail camera survey, they can keep a good handle on their deer population and deer harvest by keeping some records and using this formula. This concludes the video on how to estimate your deer population and harvest requirements. If you have any questions or comments, please contact us at info@deermanage.com. Thank you.